I only have two major questions for you today. One, what beer are you drinking at your Super Bowl party?
Just got a I just my wine place, my beer place burnt down.
What?
Yeah, so I had to
Oh,
call in and they have a different location where they've collected some beer for me and
are
it looks
you
like
okay?
I did email my guy. I was like, "Are you okay?"
You need to talk? Do we need to? Which
He's
way you
got
going
some
with me, Cody? I want to sit here. Cody, move the camera so it gets me. There you go.
he's got some North Park waiting for me from San Diego, so I'm gonna have some North Park.
North Park is where my family's restaurant is in San Diego, the San Diego Chicken
I
Pie Shop.
love North Park. Yeah.
A lot of people go, where is that? It's by the zoo. So if you've ever been to the San Diego Zoo, there you go.
North of the park.
Okay, so when you start thinking about beer, what is the super? What do we need? What Super Bowl time? I got a bunch of people coming over. I got to entertain.
Yeah, I like to also have some pilsners because not everyone likes IPAs.
Yeah.
And some people got to keep it light, maybe only have one or two while they're there. So, I tried to have some pilsners. And you know what I also throw in? Modelo.
Mexican beer is always a good call.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
for the people who just want a lager, it's like a little bit slightly different than just a Budweiser, and I'll dig on a Modelo on a hot day too. So, yeah, that's my sort of I'm having people over is some Modelo, a Pilsner, and then not the double IPAs, usually just single IPAs and maybe not all hazies too.
Yeah, because hazies, not everybody loves hazies, but if you do like an IPA, like I've always Modelo or I can do Tecate. I grew up drinking both down in Southern California. A Bud Light, something that you got to have something for, there's some people I don't drink anymore, but even when I did,
I don't drink your fancy ass beers.
I'm not a big Coors. I was never we called it Girls Light, Coors Light. But you're right. Your cooler's got to have something for everybody.
Yeah, so that's a big one. One of the local IPAs that I think is really good for it's simple, clean, not hazy, really classic is Faction. Faction has really good IPAs. They're out there in Alameda, and I happen to have some the Penske File IPAs on tap. That's like a Seinfeld reference, but that's one of my favorite IPAs from them. They're just really, really good classic IPAs.
And what dish has to be served to make it a Super Bowl party?
Wings.
There you go.
There's like thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of chicken is going to be consumed in the form of wings this weekend.
Like whenever you see those lists of how much pizza and how much chicken wings is consumed, it's insane. Like so my golf course, give them a shout out, Cinnabar Hills Golf Club. I'm playing golf. They're going to have wings made for me. I've now
ready and waiting.
Instead of sitting there and doing my smoker, I'm going to play golf, walk off the course. I'm getting 5 dozen wings, and I'm bringing them to my Super Bowl party.
Yes.
I did it last year. I showed up with these chicken wings, and everybody was coming up to me. I really like your wings, and I was like,
oh yeah, I worked real hard on them.
Yeah, I sat here all day doing buffalo wings. You're right. It's brilliant. They give me all the carrots, all of the celery. And also ranch, blue cheese. It's like I think I'm getting 5 dozen, and I got a big bag, and I just put it on my buddy's table and go, "There's all the wings you need, my friend," and I'm off the hook. Whatever it cost me, I don't care. I didn't have to cook. I got to play golf. It's time for the Super Bowl. I just asked Cody, and because we saw Jeff Passan of ESPN did an interview with Steve Cohen, and it's interesting how Steve Cohen talked about how I didn't create this world. I just live in it. And he's right. He didn't create the baseball world. He just bought into it. Now he's living in it. Is a rogue owner like him, because I said to Cody, and Cody said, well, like George Steinbrenner, no. It's not apples to apples, because George Steinbrenner could spend as much money as he wanted. He was never penalized. He was never penalized a luxury tax. He was never penalized draft picks. He was never penalized international money. This isn't apples to apples. We've got this rogue guy Cody said bad for the game. I'm like, I think it's actually good for the game. Where are you on the one rogue owner?
I think it's good for the game because it's we talk about I like when I play games with, like, I play Magic with my kids, or when I play like a board game, I get really bored of a game if there's a really obvious way to win it. There's only one way to win it, you know? Then it's like, well, we are all trying to do the same strategy, and whoever does it best wins, and that's it, you
You
know?
mean like how baseball's played right now?
There's a little bit of that going on in baseball, but a rogue owner implies there's a whole nother way. Like, that's what you mean by, like, when you say rogue owner, I hear, oh, a guy doing something different. I love it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
I do. Yeah.
try buy a team. And I think that the way out of getting in trouble, because you will get in trouble with the financial penalties, you also lose some draft picks and stuff like that. The way that he has to thread the needle, if he's going to do it this way, is improve how good they are at turning their prospects into major league players. If they're really good at player development, quote unquote, if they do everything they can to make the most of who they do have, then the draft picks that they lose won't hurt as much. And there is this thing that, like, really only your very top draft pick is the most valuable. And then the bottom of the first round, or the second round pick, or the third round pick, those are all less and less and less and less valuable. And if you buy one player and you already lose a pick, you only start losing less valuable picks after it. So it actually makes sense, if you are going in, to go in hard and just do it all, because you're losing less and less valuable draft picks after that. So, just do it. Just go for it. I like it. It's totally, it's something new in the age of the salary cap. It's something that hasn't really been done this far. I think it's good for baseball. I do worry that, like, I already have DMs of people being like, do you think there's going to be a lockout? They're going to blame it on Cohen, like, and like the other owners are going to use this. I don't know. There's always like the big market.
Can I answer that? Can I answer that?
What's that? Yes.
The answer is yes. I said this last year, and I don't want to get into this too much because fans don't care, but I said it. I said, if you think this fight is really between the owners and the players now, it's not. They're putting a Band-Aid on
between the owners.
Yes, this is a Band-Aid. The real fight that is coming after this is going to be year 4. So after this year, we'll have 3 years left. This next fight truly is about the owners. It will be about the owners, and we will have problems. But I agree with you. I think
the reason that I think you're right, and I think the reason why that doesn't mean necessarily lockout is that you need to get a bunch of owners to agree, and that's not always going to be the case.
Well, yeah.
You'd have to have all the small market owners basically gang up on the big market owners. They'd have to be in agreement. There'd have to be basically almost like a 50-50 split.
Well, it's more than that right now. We're going to do a segment called The Great Divide, where you have 6 teams will enter spring training with payrolls over $200 million, and then you'll have 11 teams at $100 million or less.
That's crazy.
You start thinking about what happened in free agency for just a handful of teams versus everybody. So there is a whole upper echelon and kind of everybody else mentality that will come to a head, but we'll have years to talk about that. No question. Cody sent me an article, and I know he said you're big on it, and I find it funny, being a golfer, knowing that my brother, as a professional, started testing with Titleist down in Carlsbad, their main headquarters, back in the early 90s.
That's a hot place for baseball players now.
Yeah, well, it's like ridiculous. You guys are so far behind.
Yeah.
That Cody says to me, like, literally right before COVID, I redid all my equipment. I was on TrackMan. Titleist is up at my course.
TrackMan, yeah.
I redid everything. Like, to you guys, TrackMan. I'm like, I spent over $3,000 in all new clubs. And Cody's sending me a thing going, oh man, Austin Riley's getting a new bat. You've been doing this for over 30 years. Where have you people been? The equipment business, we've been measuring players. Like, when I got measured, found out I've got long arms for my size. So I use shorter than the average shaft. My clubs, from driver all the way down to my putter, are perfectly made for my body. And I'm some nobody radio guy. And yet you guys are like, on The Athletic today, we're finding out we're getting measured for bats. Can you guys get with the times? It's 2023.
No, it's great. I don't know exactly why. I would say the pitchers are ahead. They've been doing more of this stuff earlier. Maybe hitters just thought I'm reacting. I don't think it matters. And hitters for the most part I think still rely on things like feel, and so they'll say oh, I can feel my best bat. I can feel which bats are best for my swing. And what was interesting in this piece was they did a couple demonstrations. They're like, hey, Austin, pick out the longest bat. Like, close your eyes and pick the longest bat between these two. And he picked wrong, And I did a piece. Yeah, I did a piece a while back where you get 6 bats from the manufacturer, and actually only 2 of them are better than the rest. Sometimes the hitters you gravitate towards those 2, but sometimes they're not. Because it's kind of hard. You're talking about like the inertia. There's like a moment of inertia. There's like, you're talking about where the weight is. Is it at the end or is it at the handle? So these things can be small. Little things can be off, and they can cost you. So there's not only bat fitting, which is getting big now, but is once you get your bats, like being really precise about which one's the best bats in each shipment. So these are 2 things. But also, what they're coming from with Titleist is they used to have force plates. They would do force plate analysis on your swing too. So to kind of tell you a little bit about your weight transfer from the back to the front. That would be that's a force plate analysis of something that's come from golf. Bat fitting, like golf club fitting, hit tracks where they, when you were practicing, you don't always have to go out to the course in golf. They had hit tracks early where you would just hit, and it would tell you how far your hit went. So you can get into a smaller space in the winter, maybe work with a golf pro on your swing, and it would tell you how far your drives were going. That has gone over to hitting. So I would blame the hitters, I think, for just being a little bit behind. And then maybe just the idea that, like, in golf, the ball is just going to stand there, And so maybe people thought for a while, well, golf is different. The ball's sitting there. It's not coming at you at 95, So all that stuff is irrelevant. But other than that, it's very similar. You've got a long club-like implement that you're trying to move very fast and hit a ball very far. Like, those things are very similar. And so I think baseball has basically found the way to, like, take the things that are similar and learn from it.
Yeah, you tell people all the time, it's biomechanics. We're made a certain way with our hands, our wrist, our elbows, our shoulders, our torso, our pelvis. If you go through a baseball swing and then you just take it down to the ground, you see how similar it is.
Very similar,
and it really, it's why I laugh when everybody in baseball thinks they're smart. It's like, you realize, like, let's just say golf. Everybody in golf, down to the top amateurs, college, guys like on the Corn Ferry Tour in the minor leagues, everybody has fitted clubs. We all have fitted balls now. They've been doing this for years now.
Wow.
To where our swing, some people hit the ball higher, some people hit the ball lower. So you find the right ball for your swing. We've got it. And then baseball, what do? We just send, as you said, a bunch of crap bats to these minor leaguers.
Yeah.
That are not fitted for them. Minor leaguers just happy to get free bats.
Right.
So you're telling me I'm going to draft a guy. I'm going to invest millions in a signing bonus to him. He's going to go to the minor leagues. And I am personally, as a franchise, not going to matter. He's playing with the best equipment to make him better.
It is strange. When I was,
does that sound?
It is really silly. And that I think that there is it does point to an issue in baseball, which is, so when I did that piece where I was there with these bat weighing people, and they said, of the 6 that you get, 2 are really better and 2 are really bad. Everyone should know this, and we'll do the weighing and we'll give it to you. And when I was talking to this guy, he was talking to major league teams, and they were out there saying, no, thank you to him. Not, and like, maybe some of them were like, no, thank you, we're going to try and do this. But I would say probably 8 out of 10 are saying, no, thank you, we just don't believe in it, or it's too much work, or we don't want to do it. And I think that what's the expression, penny
pictures,
pound foolish, penny pound foolish, Penny.
We're
Anyway,
looking it up. Hold on, penny pound. I don't think it's penny pound foolish.
it's the idea that like you're pinching the pennies, but you're missing the bigger picture.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, when we're at the winter meetings, a great way to put it. Do you have it? What does penny wise and pound foolish mean? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
What is it, Cody? Go ahead, Cody. What do you got?
It's saying, if you're said to say penny wise and pound foolish, you are extremely careful with smaller, inconsequential amounts of money, but you lose any gains you receive from those savings on extravagant, larger purchases.
So the definition of ignorant is just not knowing the facts. We think of it as a dirty word. You call me stupid. No, It just means you don't know the facts. It is amazing. We're at the winter meetings, and you got all these people who think they're smart and they know everything, and how many ignorant people there are in our game who don't know anything, that don't know much about how humans work, from brain power to biomechanics to all these different things. Like, I don't know if it's you guys, The Athletic, somebody did a story, Clemson football now. Clemson has this amazing warehouse that it is the most technology, health, science. It's hot tubs, cold tubs, workout, rehab. They've spent millions, because college football has
collecting data on you at every station.
So they have all this stuff, and you're like, look what a college football team is doing for their athletes.
Wake Forest does that in baseball. Yeah,
they've spent. If you see this Clemson football, it's better than anything any Major League Baseball team has. What they do for their athletes, the millions upon millions they've invested, and then let's fast forward to what do we do with a top draft pick in Double-A? So you're telling me I could be a college football athlete at Clemson? That's how I'm treated? And let's say we just gave a guy $6 million and we've put him in A-ball. Let's go look at our facilities in Stockton.
Here's some raw weights.
Oh, God. It's just, what are we doing?
Yeah, please tell us what you did in there.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So far behind.
Yeah, there's a similar thing in baseball. Wake Forest has an amazing lab. Part of it is because at a college, you have a unique confluence of people who want to research the players.
Hospitals,
hospitals. Yeah, usually you have a hospital attached to the school. And so at Wake Forest, they have actual doctors that want to study biomechanics, and the way they do that is they take the student populations playing the student athletes and they put them in a lab, and it's actually a sort of a co-deal between the hospital and the university, and they both get research out of it. They publish research, and so there's a sort of a confluence of motivations that make that work. But at the same time, you're like a kid going to Wake Forest will see better stuff at Wake Forest than he will see for the next 3 years after he gets signed. So, that's a problem there. And, it's funny too, how when you talk to, some teams have this growth mindset, and they're like, we're trying to learn everything. We won't tell you, screw you on anything. You have a bat fitting thing. Tell me more about it. Let's see if we can include this in our process. And they talk a good game. So then you'll get this idea of there are teams that have this growth mindset, and there are teams like the Astros and the Yankees and the Dodgers who are doing everything they can do. And then you get this idea, baseball is learning. No, there's still 5 teams that really care about all this stuff and will learn from anything and will listen to any presentation at the winter meetings because they might learn from it, and will make deals and will try to improve their process. And there's 25 other teams. And of the 25 other teams, there's maybe 5 that are trying to be in that top 5. And then there's 5 who are trying to be in that top 5, are just not any good at it. And then there's 10 who are not trying at all. They're just, and then I think there's one locally. They might be starting the process. They did an important sort of restructuring internally where they put some of their R&D guys in charge of player development. So there's going to be more. They're trying to put some attention to it. But this is the first time the A's are trying to put any attention on this in a long time. And they cut their R&D department in the early 2000s. They've had the smallest R&D department since, and they have not really invested in player development. They are among the 10 worst teams in player development.
Well, to me, this is what fascinates me. When all these articles, and you guys all do a great job at The Athletic or whatever, and I see this stuff and people want to talk about, analytics to me, I just laugh at it and I go, I don't care about your math equations. I don't care about your math equations because that's all analytics are. They're mathical or let's say sabermetrics. I'm interested in how the human brain works. I'm interested in
I would say that's analytics too, dude. I mean,
no, they've been doing data on human beings well before baseball guys started writing for The Athletic.
Okay, what I would say is a progressive organization can do what you're talking about and doesn't. Yes, they can be separate.
How
you got to do all of it.
Yeah, how human beings are successful. I'm not.
Yeah, you're talking about. Yeah, you're talking about
neuroscience,
how the brain works, how the body works, biomechanics.
How different people, how human beings register.
That requires data work, though, and we're talking about data. So,
I get it, but that's not what people are doing with how do you get OPS plus.
Right, yeah, like a wins above replacement is so far in the rear view right now. Yes, so the better teams are doing what you're talking about. They're trying to look at how batters see the ball. They're looking at gaze. They're looking at how the interaction between how my eyes work and how the pitch comes in. That's the sort of stuff.
Why did Tony Gwynn and Barry Bonds see it one way and Joey Gallo doesn't? Why doesn't Joey Gallo pick it up? Like this is crazy stat about Tony Gwynn. You got a moment? I just got to go to my buddy here. Sent this out about Tony Gwynn with 2 strikes. It literally floored me. This stat. It should floor you. Here it is. Best career batting average with 2 strikes. Think about this. You got 2 strikes on you. What do you think Tony Gwynn's career average? This is his career average with 2 strikes.
I'm trying to do real quick here is what the league is right now. But
this would be great. You could find that fast. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think this is it. League. I think the league hits 171. I think the league hits 171 this year. So I'm gonna guess he was like I want to guess like a 300. That's ridiculous. So I'm gonna say like 275. It'd still be 100 points above average.
League hits what? 170 what?
Yeah. 171.
171. You think 275. Tony Gwynn hit 302.
No, he hit over 300.
Wade Boggs hit. So career best batting average. Oh, so it's 1988 to 2022. So since 1998 to 2022, best career batting average with 2 strikes. Tony Gwynn at 302.
That's ridiculous.
The next closest is Boggs at 262. Former A, Luis Polonia, 261. Juan Pierre, 260. No one wants to put Todd Helton in the Hall of Fame. He was at 258. Ichiro at 253.
Todd Helton's the first power hitter.
Tony Gwynn at 302. Tell me why. Now, remember, Tony Gwynn also is a phenomenal athlete. He's one of the only guys ever in the same town to be drafted by 2 teams in the same year. Was drafted by the Padres and the Clippers. Could have played in the NBA. I still believe Tony Gwynn is the all-time assist leader in basketball at San Diego State. But why did Tony Gwynn or a Wade Boggs or these guys see it, and our own Chris Davis got to a point he couldn't even make contact? See, that to me is the study. Chris Davis's body, some of these guys, and the other Chris Davis, the Orioles Chris Davis. Remember, this guy was an MVP candidate. How do these guys, all of a sudden, we see it in golf too. How does a guy go out there, be a great golfer, and then just lose it? And that's all a mental thing. There's so many things that we have not tapped in baseball that to make players better, that's where we need to go.
Yeah, there's a really interesting thing that the Red Sox were doing when they found Mookie Betts. I think of Mookie Betts as similar to Tony Gwynn. I know that they aren't exactly the same, but they come from different generations. And so this generation cares about power. They want Mookie Betts to hit 30 homers. If you're going to hit 30 homers, you may not hit 302 and 2 strike counts. It's a kind of a different thing that he's trying to do. But Mookie Betts reminds me a little bit of Tony Gwynn, where he has really great contact ability. He can put it anywhere, and he can really fight off the ball. And one thing that they did was this sort of neurological scouting that you're talking about, where they actually just had like a computer program that was kind of a game, where they would kind of like show you a ball for 5 seconds, like not even 5 seconds, or like a half a second, and then you'd have to be like ball, strike, slider, whatever. And they just were studying their own players with this sort of neurological scouting to kind of get a sense of like what the best players were doing, what it looked like internally in their heads, and how they could find it in other players. I think it's part of why they went and drafted a guy like Nick York. I think was one of their last draft picks. He was their first draft. It was first round draft pick, and it was off the board completely. It was like everyone thought that was a 20 round reach. And one of the reasons was Nick York makes a lot of contact and seems to really see the ball well. So there are teams that are asking the questions that you're asking. And then sometimes they take it too far and make mistakes, I think. So for right now, the Marlins want to make contact this year. They say they want to make more contact. Great. Contact is good. Teams that make contact do better. They went and traded Pablo Lopez for Luis Arraez, who's a great contact hitter, but he's more like Tony Gwynn defensively. Like he's not a good second baseman. And their team, in this whole idea of making contact, their team now has 4 or 5. I think they have 5 second basemen on one team. So they're going to have
us with catchers. We got a bazillion of them.
Yeah, at least catchers are really important defensively. Second base, they got a second baseman at shortstop, a second base in center, a second base at second, a second base at first, and a second baseman at util.
It's like having a team all of tight ends. Where are we going to put these guys? Well, we'll put you at D-line. We'll make you into a tackle. We'll make you a wide receiver. Hey, we got a bunch of big guys. Yeah,
I think I'd rather have too many catchers. I mean, there's actually people in front offices that tell me you can't ever have too many catchers
until they got to play.
Then you have to trade one away, I guess.
Then yeah.
No problem.
Great stuff. Yeah. And I'm glad we talk about this stuff because I want this show to be different. I want people to know that there's more than just sitting around and looking at the same stuff. The game has to evolve. All sports evolve. They're always evolving. I mean, the NBA now, with what they're doing so much with monitoring their players, with sleep and how much they're exercising, what are the flights, what the long flights do.
That's going to become more important with the new new schedule. The new schedule is going to penalize people because everyone has to play everyone. So the Bay Area guys, they're adding about 8,000 to 10,000 miles onto their travel this year. And we know that part of home field advantage is how far you came to get to the game. And especially actually how many time zones you crossed to get to the game. So it's basically jet lag is a big source of home field advantage. So what can you do about that?
About that for years in the NFL, a West Coast team going to an East Coast team where your body clock, it's
not lined up.
It's a 1 o'clock game. So let's say you're the Raiders, Niners, whatever, and you fly to New York. And I can tell you this as someone who traveled with the team and you drank all night long and how you felt. But if you're a player and it's 1 o'clock, it's really 10 a.m. Your body says it. And the human body, I remember Cal that one time. Cal had to play this super early game against Maryland.
Oh, and their kids too, yeah.
And you're like, your body clock says it's like 6:30 in the morning. Your body's not ready to start hitting other human beings at 6:30.
Oh, no.
They got drilled in that game because how much of it was my body clock, my body is not ready to perform at this maximum effort.
Well, baseball is a little limited by how tight the schedule is. Football, you could say fly out to New York on Monday, for a Sunday game. Just get used to it over there. Practice somewhere over there. There are things that football teams do like that baseball teams can't quite do. You can maybe do it a little bit in the postseason. Sometimes they send their starting pitcher ahead.
Yeah.
You go there and sleep a couple nights and be there and be waiting, be ready. So there are little things that baseball teams can do. One thing that I think baseball needs to think about is what about a 154 game schedule? What if we threw some more off days into the schedule? What if we had a day off every week?
Are players going to take less money, play less games?
I would say just take the same money and distribute it over the 154. It's something that it was something that would cause a ruckus because money. But if you could find a way to make the same amount of money, and maybe you could do it in tandem with expanding, because then the owners get money from the expansion. You get 2 new expansion teams. You have to fit them into the schedule. Maybe it's a lot easier if everybody's at 154.
All right, I know I got to let you go. Are you going to do an article sometime before the start of the season? Which of the new rules will affect the game the most?
I've tried to look at that, and I think it might be the shift one. It's funny because any one player may not be affected that much, but the game as a whole, I have one analyst telling me may add a run per game on each side.
Well, I'm hoping it's stolen bases, and I was listening to Dave Roberts, and he was talking about until players get incentivized, until they start getting more money to steal. But I'm hoping that it just opens up for everybody to realize, like back in the day, we're looking at Sal Bando could hit 25 home runs and steal 22 bags. I'm hoping it just, not only do we get some 80 stolen bases.
Sal Bando stole 22 bags in a season.
How many bags was that? Go get that real quick.
That's hilarious. I would never have thought that.
Everybody used to steal, right? So it's like,
one thing I have noticed is I do think that they do get paid a little bit for steals. Look at Aaron Judge, all of a sudden stole 16 in his walk year. Dansby Swanson stole the most he'd ever stolen in his walk year. They do it in their walk years a little bit, but they don't want to get injured in between.
Who do you want me to look up?
Sal Bando.
Sal Bando.
It was just like randomly. It's like, Sal Bando stole 22 bags that year. And you're like, what?
Yeah,
I'm hoping they'll change the math.
In 76, when the A's stole 341 bases, he had 20 steals that year. He was a 2020 guy.
340 steals as a team. I love it. I want to. That's what I'm saying is like, make there be more different ways to win a game.
Yes.
Let there be a go-go team. Like
Totally.
maybe the Marlins or whoever it is. Let's just go out there and just steal 350 bases.
Let's go.
With Ruiz, Laureano, all those guys.
Everybody's got the green light. Let's
Yeah.
go. And that's what you're talking about, doing things differently. That's what I'm thinking. The stolen base could be like, let's go. Let's just run. Everybody run.
And I think the Marlins are thinking about the shift, and they're thinking, hey, let's make a bunch of contact, because if we make a bunch of contact, they won't be able to shift us and prevent the runs as much, and we'll get a bunch of singles.
Think about this, I'm leading off, and I know the runners are going to be able to time the pitch. The pitch working out.
The pitch clock is counted down.
We're not calling it a clock. It's a timer.
Oh, a timer. Oh, so we don't have any clocks in baseball?
It's a dirty word. It's a timer. But if I'm a guy leading off and I got
Orwell lives.
If I'm like leading off and I got a big lead and I see that thing's counting down to 3, 2, I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we see an explosion, that we see 80, 70, 60 stolen bases, and then the Sal Bandos of the world, they get 15, 20, and now our numbers just taking 90 feet constantly will be so much better.
Also, running from first to third is 8 inches shorter now. My favorite play is the triple. And the triple is basically powerful contact, but it's about contact and being fast and being athletic.
And good routes. You got to have good routes.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you have a Super Bowl prediction?
I don't know enough. I'm a fair weather 49ers fan.
All right. You know what? Drink a lot of beer and have a great time with friends and family.
Yeah, it's freeing to not care, I just see people, watch a couple commercials. Oh, look at that replay. All right.
Oh, here's a hazy.
Yeah.
Play the man, his closing.
The Eno Sarris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
Go to Fieldwork for your Super Bowl party. Great stuff, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
The great Eno Sarris right here from The Athletic. Fascinating stuff.